Hi folks, I'm Pauline and welcome to my channel. And it is Where Did the Children Go? I'm going to be talking a lot about this no contact the children have done. And again, they're not just young children like in their teens. They're young adults, maybe in their 20s or 30s, who've decided that whatever happened in their minds, they up and left. And they just don't have any messages for you anymore. They don't call. They don't come around. Some move away, very far away, and start a new life. This is one of the things that has happened as well to myself. Um, and looking back and listening to other people, I'm wondering, is it the fact that the husband and I, were both working through the daytime? I'm a nurse, so I'm a shift worker. And I wonder, if that be the problem, because every time I was home, I was rushing to get the studies done, the wash done, all those things that you have to do usually through the daytime. But I decided that, they could wait and I would get my shift over with and come back and kind of do my household duties in between things. And my children are quite up there now. Well, I shouldn't say that really, but they're in their late 30s and they both have children. And it just so happened that my girl is a little different and narcissistic being the word. And, she's done so many things that I finally gave up and just thought, you know what, like somebody's gonna call me and say, go to the hospital, your child's been stabbed, hit, or, killed. And so I lived with that for many years. And finally, things came to a curve and they walked away, basically. And my son, he lives on the other coast. So I only get to see him like once every 3 years when I fly out. And he was having his newborn, and his mother-in-law was there, and she was staying for 7 months. All right. Anyway, so I asked when's his dad coming, and when did he want me to come? So he had decided to tell me that, my mother-in-law's here, and she's going to be staying for at least 8 months or 7 months, whatever. And she went out in June and stayed until January or February, I believe. And I just thought that was plain strange, to tell you the truth. And I don't mean to laugh, but it's been 2 years, 2.5 years now. And I'm finally getting over it myself. Now, I don't know how you all feel about that. It's devastating. Yes, it is. And there's a lot of depression that goes with this. And a lot of people are still having a very hard time. Parents are still crying in their sleep because they just can't figure out what happened, what went wrong. Nobody's got the reason, okay? Um, it's, I guess if we look back years ago, it was usually the man that just left, picked his stuff up one day and would leave. And that was way back when. And then finally, um, some women thought if the man can do it, then we can do it too. So women also, but not nearly as many as men, would pick up their stuff, walk out in the middle of the night or in the day when nobody's home, and you never see them again. That's a hard ticket to pull. It really is, you know. So now it's kind of like a reverse change where we have a child walking out and don't talk to me again. I'm not here. Don't call. And they're doing their own no contact. And this is not the court's case. The court didn't ask for you to have no contact with your children. They didn't ask them to have it. But somewhere our children are doing this because they don't want to be a part of that family. They want a new family. They want to go somewhere else and meet other people and maybe like them better. And I'm not sure myself where, but I do understand after looking at it for the past few years that I worked full time. My husband worked full time plus traveled. The grandmother and grandfather were always there for me to, spend time with them. And until they had passed away and the children were in their teens, I still had to do the shift work. The ex had left by then, and so there was just myself and the two children. And they knew that they had whenever any technology came around, the children had it. And I used to make sure that they were in big trips every year. We went away, Caribbean cruises and Florida and things like that. We always went somewhere. And once they got a bit older and moved on with their lives, I still saw my daughter, but um, it was more her just coming to tell me things and yell. It wasn't a meaningful relationship. My granddaughter, that I love very much, she lived with us for 12 years. Saw her mom every now and again. Um, and then one day I wanted custody, part custody, because I've always had her. And I took her to court, and they said, no, you can't do anything about it because she's 12. She'll be 13 next year, or it was just a matter of months, actually. And, then she has a right to decide whatever she wants to do. And I was right there devastated because my husband was sitting behind me. And I thought, just a minute, like she's only 12 now. She's not 13. So knowing my daughter, when the judge was done and he just said, you have to be patient and sometimes they come back. And I thought, sometimes my granddaughter's going to do whatever her mother tells her because she's afraid of her. So yeah, great. So the judge says, do you have anything to say? And I said, yes, I do. And I looked over at my daughter and I said, X, do whatever you want. Don't care. I said, it's all yours now. But thank you anyway. And then I just looked straight at him and I tried not to cry. And the judge was like, but wait, Pauline, like it gets better. And I thought, I'm not listening to you because it doesn't get any better. Okay? When you lose a child, whether it's through an accident, a disease, an overdose, whatever it is, when you lose your child, you've lost them forever. And this no contact order, it's one of these things that tear families apart. And it's the child that actually, your child that actually has walked out and says, I don't want any more contact. You don't know, they don't give you a reason. They just walk out. I mean, it's very hard to try and piece that together. Like, why? Why do you listen to, your brother, your sister, or your best friend has something better than you do and you didn't get it this year? Like, is that why? When I look back at my kids, I look at all the things they were given, from new cards to you name it. And I wonder, was it because I wasn't home, but you had everything and more than most children had? And should I have stayed home more often and policed them? Because the stories I heard from them as they grew out of their teens was appalling, I must say. I really must say. My son was wonderful. My daughter was bad, 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 bad. Like her butt should have been in jail like a couple times. Really big. And I didn't catch that because I was a night shift that I'd be working that this all occurred. So I thought, okay, I don't know what's happening, but in their little heads, something's not right. Mom and dad didn't do something. And it's partly our fault because years ago, there was very few children that ever left and not stayed in contact with their parents or their family. This was all brand new that's happening again. But one thing I do know is that history does repeat itself. And back in the 40s and 50s, it was more common for newly married to move away so that they could have their own family away from their family, kind of thing. And uh, that was a very common thing that used to happen back then. But eventually, the family began uniting and bonding again. But the people I talked to said, like, usually it comes out of anger nowhere. It just sort of builds, and nobody seems to know where it's coming from. And I think if the mom and dad had different shifts so that somebody was always home, um, would this have happened if we had been more strict than what we are now? Like, would this have happened? And we have a lot of young children now growing up with autism, for example, which is very difficult to deal with, and I know that. And it's very hard to get proper help to look over those children while you're going to work. So uh, it is really a hard thing to work with. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up now because everybody's having that. So the heart failed, I mean, when you lose a child, no matter how you lose one, it takes a chunk out of your heart, right? Um, if you can, let me know your situation as well, and love to hear about it because I'm just finding that there's just no whimsical reason why no they want to stop the contact. And I feel bad because I'm not the only one that didn't know what was happening. I got blindsided. And I think a lot of, especially the moms, were really blindsided. But the fathers tend to hold that in. It's very painful. It really is. So when people ask me now, do you have any children? I just say no. Nope. I never usually acknowledge that I even have them now. And like I said, it's been 2.5 years. I've had to reteach myself that, you know, things are packed, everything's done, and voila. It's I hope you're all happy and everything's good. You're not in the wildfires that are around. You're not in the earthquakes or volcanic regions. Um, Otherwise, yeah, I just leave it there. So anyway, if that was my thoughts. So if you have some, would you please let me know? And if you can, I'd love you to hit the like button and subscribe as I go on to research exactly some of the other areas that can be accountable. So for now, take care and catch you in the next one. Thanks.